Well, hi again, and welcome to Coffee with Craig. I'm your host, Craig Hamilton Parker, and I'm a psychic medium. And we talk about all things to do with the spiritual world. We look at the way ahead in the world. We try to give our psychic insights into the way the world's going. And that's why we're kind of like a little bit of a community around this YouTube. So, anyway, today we're going to be looking at the future from September 2025. So welcome to Coffee with Craig. Well, hi again, and welcome again to the show. Thanks for joining me again, and thanks for all your loyal support. And if you're here for the first time, please do remember to subscribe. And if you're here over and over again, always please give me a thumbs up if you don't mind, guys, because it helps that algorithm, and it's very important nowadays, the way YouTube does things. Well, we're going to be looking at all the problems in the world, some of the events and things that are happening from September 2025. I'm going to be making some of my predictions. I'm going to reference a little bit of astrology. I'm going to reference some of the things being suggested in the Naadi, some of the kind of a bit worrying events ahead, and some of the better ones too, I hope. And later on, I'm also going to have a little gap in it in which we have a little quick interview with Jane's mother, who's 97 years old at the moment and got some pretty old-fashioned ideas, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, because I've been sort of, just seeing what I can do with her and things, seeing what I could get her to say. But yeah, some ideas about how she's sorted the world out. So put your tin hats on this one, guys. And then also at the end, something a little bit more serious, of course, is also I want to talk a bit about world peace, and particularly we're making what's called a yagna, or a homa, as they call it, which is like a fire ceremony. A magical sort of energy is sent up from this, and it's being done in conjunction with some of the Naadi readers in India. These are some other ones other than Dr. Q, because I'm in touch with lots of Naadi readers. And I said I'd give it a little bit of a plug. And I think you'd be very interested in this to see what we can do, how we can change the world. What can we do to make it a better place? You know, it shouldn't be all doom and gloom. We can do something, and our thoughts, our feelings, our meditations can make a difference. Anyway, let's get on with the first part, which is my predictions. Well, welcome back to the show again, and I'm going to make my predictions now. So here we are, making these predictions now in the 28th of August 2025. And every now and again, I like to make a few predictions of the way ahead. And I think it's important with predictions that you remember it's not always a question of, here's a list, bang, 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 bang of predictions, because most of the things that happen in the world kind of don't happen all of a sudden, do they? They happen slowly, they simmer and they build. And this happened, if you look at any of the major events in the world, whether it be particularly the wars and things like that, causes the First World War, we learned at school, and they happen slowly, they gradually build up. And then, there was no single cause, there were many causes. And it's exactly the same what's happening in the world at the moment. So many of the predictions I've been making over the years are come to pass, but they come to pass gradually. It was some years ago, 2020, 2019, going back right back on my website. If you look at some of the first predictions I made before I started doing them on YouTube, I was talking about the danger of a large social unrest gradually growing in Europe because of the migrations of peoples. And at that time, we didn't have anything really going on with mass immigration. And certainly go back further in my life, back to when I was a kid, in the 60s and 70s, there was no migration whatsoever. It was very unusual to see people from other countries and from what my nan used to call the continent, those continentals she used to talk about. It was funny. The whole mindset was very different in those days, of course. So these predictions take time to simmer. And one of the most important ones has been migration. I think this is one of the things that I do feel is the growing most important issue of our times right now, particularly here in the UK, but also with what's happening in Washington, particularly with ICE and the deportations that are going on in Washington, and then soon to be moved to Chicago and other places. There's been a major sort of shift in consciousness. Now, right now, as we come into September months, we're getting quite a few changes going on, particularly with the planet Saturn. Now, Saturn is the great taskmaster. I'm an Aquarian, so it's been in my sign for a long time. And it does mean that during that period, you have a lot of things to deal with in life, things that take time. It's a slow moving planet. And it's the same as now we get Saturn retrograde going into Pisces. So this sort of return into Pisces for the time being is making us sort of deal with unresolved issues from the past, and big things that have been simmering for a long time also will come into the prominence at the moment. So this is giving us a sort of a period where we're perhaps reassessing, and old issues are coming to things that haven't been dealt with are getting sorted out. We've also got what's called a Virgo portal, which means that we've got 2 new moons in Virgo at the same time. This is an unusual cosmic sort of event. It's unusual to get 2 moons like that. But this is kind of another transformative type of energy that comes with this at the moment. So this coming month, and also we got in Mercury Ketu conjunction in Leo too. These are also things that bring some triggers for financial things as well. But basically, overall, we're getting quite an energetic build-up. So for many respects, September is a bit of a turning point for the world at the moment, particularly with old issues. And one of the worst that we're dealing with at the moment, I think, is this problem with over-migration. Here in the UK, now a lot of you in the USA don't see what goes on in the UK. We don't see what goes on in America often, because everything we watch on the news is extremely filtered. It almost gets to the point where I think, why am I watching mainstream news at all? Because it's been so filtered out that we don't see anything about what's really going on. They skip over things that are very important. I've mentioned about migration in one of the migrant hotels and things that have been going on. It's been a kind of a bit of a concern that why aren't these things being spoken about? Why, for example, have we seen absolutely zero on UK news about the deportations going on in Washington? It's too close to what's going on here in London coming up. So I feel that we have a real simmering pot of boiling anger underneath the almost in the underworld of the world. It's not being talked about, and people are getting very, very upset now. So I see ahead some really difficult times in the UK and in America, because problems that are not being addressed are having to be brought to the public for, particularly here in the UK, because we've got Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister here, trying to overturn the court rulings about the migrant hotels and so forth, and pulling on board all these left-wing judges to try to reverse what really is the will of the people. Because the will of the people is really, really coming to the fore. One of the things we're seeing, of course, is things that are not the will of the people. I was having a look at some of the very left-wing websites recently to see what they say about the migrant hotels, because I like to get a different viewpoint on things. And you can go to them and you can print out your own banners, and it's very obvious that they're extreme left wings. You know, they were the sort of things that people would never have paid much attention to in the past, and they're trying to grab hold of the public debate. Downloadable printable banners that you can put up, you know, dead easy. You know, when ordinary local people are making protests about the way they see their country as becoming not what it was, it's nothing like what they've known. And this is the number one problem here in the UK, of over migration, that is causing tremendous disruptions to the social cohesion of the UK in particular, and people are fed up with it. But the government are just trying to put a lid on it all. And you start doing that, and it doesn't usually come out with very good results. Similar things are happening in Europe at the moment. The same idea. There's a pressure point coming. There's a pressure point coming. And I see that in the coming months, from September now right the way through until December, we're going to see some real serious social unrest, particularly in London. And coming up soon, we also have the many protests planned. There's one with what date is it? On 13th of September, Tommy Robinson's having a march through London, and at the same time, the socialists are calling everybody out to make a counter protest and trying to get a bigger counter protest. So now we've got two sides all ready to boil. And I think this will ultimately spill over into violence. And even though they're saying, no, guys, we don't want violence, that's when the left wing win. The left wing want you to have violence. The left wing want street protests. Left wing want us to be able to sort of clamp down on it so nobody can protest. All we want is Palestinian flags flying across London, or rainbow flags flying across London, but certainly not the Union Jack and so on, and the English flag. So this is dangerous, I think, when you start to try to repress things. You repress it on the news. And, you know, even people like Rees Mogg, who's a kind of an odd sort of figure, you know, but he's going out, if you follow his channel, and going to migrant hotels that have been hidden away in the middle of Somerset and obscure little areas. It's like they're forcing everybody on us. And I think this is something that is going to be the issue that needs to be addressed in the coming months. And I feel that it's not being addressed. And I think, and my sense is that they will actually overturn the rules about the migrant hotels and say, yes, you know, we can keep people in migrant hotels, because the government's put in a real difficult position now. So they'll overturn that, and that'll cause more public unrest. That'll cause more disruption. It'll cause more. Britain's really ready to pop, I feel. What do you think? Do you think I'm right? Am I wrong with this? Because nothing's on the news. But I feel there's a real undercurrent of disruption now. I mean, if you look at it from the government's point of view, what are they going to do with this? What are they going to? They said, we will get rid of everybody by the end of the parliament, and we will get everybody out of these hotels by the end of the parliament. And what they mean by that, we will give every single one of them British citizenship. We won't care about whether they should be here or not. We'll just give them all British citizenship because we want the problem to go away. And of course, that's not going to work, is it? That's not going to work, because that's only doing the complete opposite to what we really want them to do. You know, so this is a real serious issue that we have here that's got to be addressed. Where do you put them all? You know, the only option you've got is to do something very similar to what Farage is suggesting and what's happening in America, which is you're going to have to start actually turfing people out. So on the one hand, you've got people saying, you know, we've got to give them all citizenship, basically. On the other hand, we say, no, our country's already overwhelmed. And you give them all citizenship, what happens to the rest? How many more are brought in? Every person represented has a whole family behind them as well. So this is a serious issue that I feel is going to be more and more coming to the fore. You know, what do we do? Do we have to have internment camps of some sort to do this? And they say, oh, we can't do that. You know, it's too similar to what happened in Germany in the war. But we can't do that because we practically can't do that. But you could during COVID. We built whole hospitals overnight, sort of thing. We were building them so rapidly, and it shows if you've got the right attitude, what can happen. So I feel this is the downfall of the Labour government ultimately. Margaret Thatcher fell because of the poll tax. And I feel that Starmer will fall because of this. I've been saying he's going to go. And I feel that, will they be in Parliament for another 4 years? Will we have a Labour government for 4 years? I think it's very, very unlikely. And I feel that this year they will tumble. They will fall. The whole, not just Starmer and everybody else, but the whole lot will go. I see my lights are going all over the place. I seem to have some agreement here with the spirit world in the background. There, red lights flashing. Look at that, eh? Oh, goodness gracious. Anyway, I can see it on my screen here on the side here. So, yeah, and who's rubbing their hands at all this, of course? Who's rubbing their hands at all this? We've got the Russia and we've got China and Korea all getting together to join a military parade soon. This is another, you see, like I say, these predictions, they take time to come about. They take time. They simmer in the background. I was talking about this right back in 2020 about a coalition between China and Russia. And this would be something that we would worry about in the future of the world. And it certainly seems to have happened, doesn't it? You know, I said this and I said this and I said this that it would happen, and it's happening. And who wants all these immigration problems? Nothing like having an enemy within, is it? Russia even pushes the people over the border into go across the border, go on. You're not coming here, you know. And the problem is we now have serious problems within our own societies. And this, I do feel, is part of this big energetic shift that's happening. That 13th of September march through London, I think, is going to become seriously problems. And I feel as if there will be other ones. I feel as if there would be much more aggressive marches into places like Tower Hamlets and places which have become almost where British people are in a minority. And I feel these things are going to boil over, sadly. So that's one of the things I feel. I think this coming period also is going to be very serious issues with things such as financial problems in the world. I see a number of financial problems ahead, starting in September. There's going to be, the Naadis actually said about this as well. Actually, they said that the Naadis said that there will be a downturn in the markets in September. And that's something that I'm feeling at the same time. And Britain is actually close to full economic failure. This is what, again, is going to put the pressure to see the end of this Labour government. It's not quite time, but I think ultimately we might even get the IMF, International Monetary Fund, having to bail us out or be talking about bailing us out. It's going to get that close. There's going to be very shortly, whether it's September or possibly into October with this, there's going to be a crisis budget. There's going to be a crisis budget of some sort, a full budget pulled in unexpectedly, a major budget that's been pulled in that creates great unrest, because it will also be tax rises for the poor and the unemployed being hit by this. And when the unemployed get hit, that's when you really start to get the problems, because it's usually the middle class people don't usually go out and protest a great deal. Middle class people, as it were, that sounds a bit classist, but in many ways it is that. They haven't got time to go out and protest. They haven't got time to go out and make a lot of fuss at their weekends, precious weekends, and they're much more complacent. But often people that are hit the hardest, the ones that haven't got a lot of money, when you take that away from them, and they got the time, that's when you start to get really serious protests. That's what brought down Thatcher, the poll tax. And I feel once the poor get hit, then we're really into trouble with this, you know. So you'll have a look in a minute when I put Nanny Joan up. She's got the way to sort out the unemployed, which I think is quite amusing. Okay, but so what else have I got on my list here? Oh yeah, Taylor Swift. I said about the prediction. I said she would marry Travis, and so that's happened. That was a prediction I made a little while back that has happened. The Ukraine issue is going to be important as well in the ways ahead. And what do I see about that? Well, when it came up today saying, oh, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. I said, no way, there's no deal coming. And now today, on the 28th of August, when I'm making this, we see another major hit on Kiev. So there's a no deal, definitely a no deal. And because the West is now being seen as really weak, because it looks like whatever anybody says, Russia keeps hitting hard at Kiev, wanting to hit those drone factories, I expect. And you can't do deals with dictators, can you? You can't do. And this is where Trump is beginning to be shown to look weak, because he's being pulled along by the nose and being told, we can do this deal, we can do a deal, this deal, that deal, you know, we'll give you 10% of Ukraine if we can have 90% of Ukraine, sort of deal, which is completely unacceptable to Ukrainians. And while those things are going on, we keep hitting them hard. So the deal is off, and I don't see anything happening in Ukraine as a powerful peace process. I mean, the Naadis, actually, some of the Naadi prophecies about this time say that there will be a reconciliation, but I don't see it happening. I think Trump's going to be put in the position where he has to start saying, right, we're going to have to use the stick now, and we'll start giving some arms to Ukraine, because we can't stop this if we're going to have to change the situation somehow. And funny enough, when I was tuning in today, I was tuning in and I was trying to pick up on what I saw ahead, and I saw the whole of Europe asleep. I thought, what have they had, sleeping drug or something like that? So I don't know whether there's something in that unusual, something where people are falling asleep. I think it was symbolic, because symbolically Europe has fallen asleep. Like I say, the crises in the world don't happen overnight, they happen over a period of time, and I feel that Europe has been asleep far too long. So will Europe wake up? Will Europe wake up and do something about the about Ukraine? I think they've got to now, and I think they've got to start putting armaments in, and that's what the move's we're going to see in this coming month with that. The Naadis also, interestingly, I saw spoke about an unexpected war in a Muslim country. So there's something new that we don't know about, an unexpected war in a Muslim country. And it suggested also that a leader could be removed through an assassination. And this is talking about specifically a Muslim country. So let's wait and see what's ahead with that. Will somebody, a leading figure in a Muslim country, be assassinated? So that's an unusual and strange question. So we've got difficulties ahead with the economy coming up shortly. We've got a complete unresolved situation in Ukraine, and the situation I see as running further out of control. I feel that Ukraine will try to strike back. Armaments are being given there. We've got problems on the streets with the problems with migration. Again, I feel it's flashpoints in France and places. Again, what they see in Britain will be reflected in Europe. And strangely enough, the Naadis also said that there'd be some Earth movements in this time too, and Earth movements in Europe it spoke about. Now, this is not me making a prediction this time. This is from the Naadi predictions. It said that there would be some earthquakes in Italy and Portugal. So let's see if that happens. It said in this coming period in August or September. So we're very close now. And it still has concerns about Japan. This is something that I was also concerned about the Pacific Ring that I spoke about. So there's still thoughts about that. And interestingly, there was another prediction in there saying that in 2026, there would be an event where a small planet or moon, it said, would be hit by an asteroid. So that means something would have to move from the asteroid belt for that to happen. And it suggested that this would cause, but it would not be something directly from the asteroid belt, but it would hit something else, and debris from that impact would hit the Earth to cause some tsunamis and earthquakes. That's predicted in 2026. That's a Naadi prediction, so not one of mine, but quite interesting nonetheless, because I like to sort of flag things on this show of anything that else has come up where there's been interesting things. So these are some of my kind of simmering predictions for the way ahead. Now, one of the other things that I think is quite interesting because we had a chat with Jane's mum about unemployment and what you would do about unemployment, because she had some interesting views for this. So coming up next is a just a little part about what I feel I managed to sort of prize out of her. But do take this a little bit tongue-in-cheek, this bit, but there's a funny bit. But then in a minute after that, I also want to talk about the Yagna that's happening and give you some thoughts about the way I feel things are going with the world, and can we bring world peace. But anyway, first, here we are, Nanny Joan. Today we're having a chat with Nanny Joan, who is Jane's mum.
Who's 91 years young.
First thing that I'd do would change the system from, Social Security back to Labour Exchange. That you clock on a Monday, and on the Wednesday, if there's any job available, you get 3 chances, and if you don't take it, you don't turn up Friday to collect your money.
Yeah, that's how
So what about people? How would you pay everyone then?
Well,
do you think people
coupons.
get? Oh, right, okay.
So they supply enough for their food, enough for their clothes, but not for a luxury life. Definitely not.
So sort of, you just get coupons. What for food?
Yeah, like
you get clothes, food.
wartime coupons.
Well,
So they don't have Sky TV, and they don't smoke, they don't drink.
Oh well, they can if they have a drink, if they got enough over.
So,
The coupon, I bet they'd be selling them.
so basically, you're not very happy with the unemployed.
No, I'm not. I don't blame those that's very disabled and can't go to work.
But
like
it can't. But the person can't help
no
themselves.
legs.
The person can't help
like that.
themselves if they're at
Yeah.
work, though, can they?
But I
really?
think you should get these lazy blighters up out of every morning out of bed.
Yeah.
The government's to blame, I reckon. The system's all to blame.
How would you change the system apart from what you were saying about giving the unemployed vouchers? Any other ideas?
Yeah, look after the older people a bit better.
So basically, you're rooting for yourself,
so
Joan, aren't
works
you?
hard from an early age of 14. What do they get? Nothing.
Yeah. Oh well, there we go. That's
Anything
Nanny
else?
Joan for you. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you next time. And don't forget, leave your comments. We'd like to hear what you have to say about some of these
Excuse me, brain.
some of these brilliant ideas.
Like a youngster.
So when we see all the troubles in the world, sometimes we can feel very helpless with it all, can't we? Because it's a troubling world, and we know the media aren't paying attention to us. The politicians don't seem to be paying attention to us. People get very angry, as I've been talking about in my predictions there. But we can kind of do something about it. We can do something about it. And again, the Naadis, now this is a separate group of Naadis, because I'm dealing with all sorts of Naadi people all over the world. So I find those interesting. If you don't know what the Naadis are, you have a look at my book, Messages from the Universe. That'll tell you a lot more about it. You really ought to read that sometime, guys, if you've been watching the shows. And what's he going on about all the time with these predictive things? But they were the ancient leaves from ancient times in India, written thousands and thousands of years ago. They give personal talk about a person's life, so an individual can consult them, but also there are some Naadis that you can consult about world events. And the Naadis have come up with a suggestion that it's a need at the moment to do a special world peace event, and to do a special what we call a yagya or yagna or yagya. Sometimes it's called a Homa. Now this is an ancient fire ceremony, and when you think about it, right through ancient history, we've had fire ceremonies. I did some of them in India myself, which was absolutely amazing. In where I was doing one, and that to sort of strip off the top, so I showed my flab to the world, and did a yagna. For this was particularly for my own personal help, but I've also done yagnas for world events as well. So there's one being asked for in the Naadi, and some friends have managed to get that together. And there's a link in the description below to explain about this. It's going to be happening on October the 3rd. That's a Friday at 6 p.m. PST or 9:30 p.m. EST. And if you can make a contribution, and they're only looking for peanuts, they're looking for sort of small amounts, just something that you can help it. In India, it's on October the 4th, Saturday the 7th a.m. IST, right? So slightly different timings with that. So if you can perhaps go and have a look at their link in the description, you can find out about the sacred ceremony to do the peaceful, beautiful Naadi meditation. Because the way they talk about in the Naadis, they identify things that are going to happen, but they say we can stop them from happening, or we can make the event less damaging by the power of our thoughts. And when we do the fire ceremonies, it takes us back to those ancient times when man first discovered the mysterious fire, which is like the divine thing. Imagine what it was like to first see fire. It takes you back to the ancient times, the ancient mind. It really engages the whole human spirit. And it's supposed to have a very magical sort of energy to it too, to help the world to change. And everything in the world is a manifestation of consciousness. I am a manifestation of consciousness. I am conscious of being consciousness. The world outside of ourselves is a sort of how can you say, almost a solidified form of consciousness, right? We are consciousness moving through consciousness. It's all conscious. The material world is conscious. I am conscious. I am it. It is me. And you are too. We are all this one thing. It's like the Matrix in a way. It's all some image. It's all some Maya that's all floating in this great sea of Brahma, right? So what it means is that thoughts can change the way it all works. This solidified consciousness around us, the world of events, the world of change, the world of time, can be influenced by our thoughts and our feelings and our prayers and our hopes and our visions and our joys. We can change the world to make it a better place. And what better thing to do than all come together as one with some focused thought at some focused point, and it can help bring and increase that energy. I always say it in my spiritualist circles to people, the sum is greater than the parts. When we all come together as one, we create more than just a few people together. We magnify each other's energy. And you imagine when we start to get lots and lots of people around the world connecting, even this moment now, we are creating a change in the world. If we can think positive thoughts about the world, if each of you now maybe thinks about something positive, as you're watching this videos, how would you like to see the world? Just think of it now. How would you love to see it? A beautiful world of peace, of harmony, without all these conflicts between races and politics and peoples and the rest of it, and cultures and all the clashes that are going on in the world. A world as one humanity. So, have a look in the description below, and maybe you'd like to make a small donation to that event. It would be lovely if it could be something good, because it's a all done for free by people. There's nobody making profits out of this. And send a thought to the world, and maybe even consider joining them online. Okay, thanks for joining me with that one, and thank you for joining the show today and inspiring me by your comments and what you say in the in the comments below. It's become a real little community here, and although I can't always answer all of you, I do answer one or two of you, and I always answer people through the patrons and through the YouTube memberships, of course. It is nice to try to interact with you and create a community of love that is doing this little bit to change the world. It's not all about fearful things, about fearing the future. The very thing is, we can change the future. We can change it in our own lives, and we can change it for the world at large. And when we do that, we're not disempowered. We can do something. Okay. Well, thanks for joining me for today. See you soon. Bye for now. Jane and I would like to thank you for watching today, watching our shows over the years. And as many of you know, our biggest vision is to create a spiritual center in Italy just as the Naadis described, an ashram-like place where people can come to learn mediumship, dive deep into meditation, understand the Naadis, and explore the mind-opening wisdom of the ancients.
I think it's going to be fabulous time we do it all up and paint it.
Now, we already have our own house, but beneath it, there's a space to build a beautiful centre for teaching and spiritual awakening. This whole area will become the way into the spiritual centre part of the house. We'd still be up the top, our living area. There's Jane, give us away. But this is where we open it up from at the bottom here. All round here in Altino and places, it's all little medieval villages. I mean, look at that beautiful landscape behind me. All up in, over there, behind those mountains, I don't know if you can see the mountains, there's snow-peaked mountains, so people can ski here. You've got little tiny villages. It's an absolutely undiscovered part of Italy. So it's nice, isn't it?
Yes, the boss has given her orders.
Yeah, I've just been explaining all about all the places here,
Yes,
and what we
beautiful.
plan to do.
It's nice, got a nice peaceful energy, and looking over the mountains, it brings serenity, and it's a slower pace of life, what we all need in 21st century. It'd be done very beautiful.
And to make that dream a reality, we need your help, and especially your donations. Every gift, large or small, brings us closer to opening the doors of this sanctuary. And if you'd like to support our regular channel, you can become a patron or a YouTube member. But if you'd like to directly help build the spiritual center, please consider making a donation. The links are in the description below.